Release the Kraken!
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
Powered by Phelps Game Calls.
Oh, hey there. Welcome back to another edition of the Bugler Broadcast podcast. As always, powered by Phelps Game Calls. If you don't blow Phelps, well, you're missing out, my friend. All right, guys. So episode 1 of the Bugler Broadcast podcast, I talked about how this is going to be a listener-driven podcast. I got a whole bunch of questions and comments on the Bugler hotline, if you will. And man, there's a bunch of really good ones on here. So some of them get cut off. Man, I apologize. I didn't know, but looks like there's a three-minute limit to the recording. So if your question or hunting story goes further than 3 minutes, well, I'm sorry. I apologize if it gets caught off. I tried to look in settings to figure that out. If somebody wants to let me know how to fix that, comment below here on YouTube or call into the hotline and let me know because, yeah, I'm still just a noob, just trying to figure this out. So anyhow, let's get right into the questions. And first caller, long-time listener, first-time caller. I don't know. He didn't say that, but I've always wanted to say that. Okay, here we go.
Hey there, Mr. Bugler Man. Loving what you're doing, Dirk. Thank you so much for just making it natural, real, honest, but fun. Please don't ever dye your beard again and put on that costume. Please don't. Question I have for you. What is your favorite in the field backstrap seasoning for celebratory backstrapping camp day of getting a bull? What's your favorite seasoning? Yeah, I know. This is pretty top secret, I imagine. But, hey, we're close friends, right? All right. So, anyway, Bones McCracken wants to know what your favorite seasoning is. Thank you.
Good old Bones McCracken calling in. Excellent question. You know, I use nothing more than cayenne pepper and a little bit of gunpowder on my elk meat, seasoned to just right, a little bit of spice, and enough to give a little zing in it. Put a little zing in your step. No, I don't use that. Actually, probably my favorite, and this is just kind of, I'm going to sound pretty basic here, so which I am. I love Montreal steak seasoning. And this episode is brought to you by Montreal steak seasoning. Just kidding. I really love Montreal steak seasoning. There's a lot of pepper, there's a lot of garlic, there's a lot of salt in it, big chunks of salt. It's just got a little bit of everything. And I put a little bit of that in one of those little snack-sized Ziploc baggies, and I keep that in my pack. And sometimes it'll go the whole season without getting used, and other times I'll use that thing right away, and We'll cook up some tenderloins right there in the field. My favorite way to do it is build a big fire, find a big rock, big flat rock, super flat, clean it off really good, all the gravel and stuff. They get pretty dirty. It's nature. Anyhow, clean that thing off really good. Build a big fire on top of it. Get a whole bunch of coals. You know, you want a pretty good fire. But you don't want to have to wait forever for the coals to cook down too. So once that thing gets super hot and you get those red hot coals burnt down, what you need to do is take a little stick or maybe like a pine bough and sweep off all the ashes and everything off that rock, and then have a nice big glob of fat off that bull or cow, off your elk or deer. slap that on that hot rock, and it'll start rendering out into grease. And as soon as that gets on there and gets nice and greasy and sizzling, that's when you take your chunks of backstrap. Now, if you go super thick on your backstrap, it may not cook as much as you want it to. So kind of like a medium cut, like no thicker than your finger, really. Maybe a little bit thicker if you like them rare. Anyhow, when a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take that baggie and I'll depending on how much steak I've got, if it's a big bag, I'll put all the steak in the bag and I'll kind of knead it around, almost like shake and bake. You got to shake it before you bake it. So anyhow, take it out of there, lots of seasoning on there, put it on the rock, cook it to however you feel like it needs to be. Now, when you swept off all your hot coals, you don't want to sweep them off the rock completely. You want to kind of line the perimeter of your rock with them so you still got that heat there. And it's my favorite way. I don't know if it's just the ambiance of the mountains and camaraderie of the good friends, or if it's just actually really good. I've cooked it without seasoning even before, and it's amazing. Really great question, Bones McCracken. Thanks for calling. Next question.
Hey, Derek. Look forward to listening to your first podcast here. Got some topic there you might find interesting to hear your view on as far as when you're hunting elk. Do you prefer to hunt from the top down after the thermals have switched, or do you prefer to go up the bottom of the valley and hunt your way up before the thermals have switched? Obviously, aspects take big consideration to that. Some aspects you got more time to work with them in the morning before the thermal switch. Areas that I hunt, you don't always have great access to the ridge tops, so unless you're spiking out up on the ridges and can run the ridges, you're pretty much going to be hunting the valley bottoms in the day and try and locate bulls on the slopes and then trying to find a way to get on them from there. So I'd like to hear your opinion and what your go-to strategy is and what dictates why you're going to use one strategy over the other. Thanks, Derek. Looking forward to listening to it. Take care, man.
That's a great question. So basically, I kind of like both ways. Here's the thing about hunting from the top down. First thing in the morning, you have a lot more ambition to walk downhill in the morning, right? So let's say you hear a bull off in the distance somewhere. Sometimes you'll get them straight below you, but I want to try to call before I ever get to where I think the elk are at. So maybe there's a finger ridge over here and over here and over here. I want to call as I'm working my way to those. And as soon as I get an answer, I'm going to be able to dip quickly. If I'm uphill, I'll be able to dip quickly to get on their level because of gravity. Now, let's say we're hiking from the bottom and you finally hear one. Okay, you're going to have to climb. So first thing in the morning, you're full of energy, yes. But sometimes it's hard. You may have to climb 1,000 feet every morning, 2,000 feet, depending on the country you're hunting. I've hunted a lot of different styles of terrain. But I think I like to have that elevated perch first thing in the morning. That way I can stay high. I can get my calls to reach down into the holes. And a lot of times the bulls are pretty deep, so there's not a lot of danger of them smelling me right away. And once I find them, I can make the right moves to get the wind in my favor and go from there. But if I'm going to have to hunt from the valley floor, I'm definitely going to have my map. I'll have my base map out on my phone, and I'm going to be plotting this out like, okay, we want to go maybe make a big loop across these ridges, across the top of the basin, go into the other basin, whatever, make a big loop, and then come back to the truck for the day. But we don't want to try to usually travel the same country unless we got into bulls first thing in the morning, and then we're going to try to find some others later on the afternoon, and then maybe come back to those. I don't know. It seems kind of a little bit confusing. But first thing in the morning, and if you're having a hard time getting up to those bulls before the wind switches, you may have to start out earlier in the morning. I got a really super good friend who hunts some gnarly, nasty country, and he starts hiking at 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, he's a tired pup in the morning, but he's hiking in the dark. He's not wasting daylight. He's hiking in the dark. He's got that wind coming downhill in his favor until he gets up to the right elevation to start hunting. So that might be something you want to try out too. So anyway, thanks for the call. Appreciate that. Next caller. Let's take a look here.
Hey, Dirk. Been watching you come up through the years with Elk 101, and a big fan of both of yours. I was just wondering, with the launch of the Collective, has that in any way had any negative effect on your relationship with Corey? Thanks a lot, and have a good day.
That caller is referring to the Elk Collective. So that's a new subscription-based website that Jason Phelps, Dan Staten, John Gabriel, and I started here just about a month ago. And it's all video digital elk hunting tutorials. There's videos from Elk Shape Camp, but it's all different kinds of tips and tactics and ways that you're going to want to hunt elk. And it covers the gamut from finding a tag clear on up to taking your bull out. So it's very, very well-rounded. So to the question, do I think that's going to, how has that affected my relationship with Corey with Elk 101? I think everybody in the elk hunting industry understands that there's plenty of space out there for all of us. Whether you want to try to go hunting, do it my way. If you want to go do it Corey and Elk 101's way. Some of these other guys that have built a heck of a following, I think we all know that there's plenty of space in this in the elk hunting industry. So if anybody gets their feelings hurt or gets mad, then that's just not good. We're all in this together, and that's one of the biggest premises of the Elk Collective is it's not just the four of us who started it. We're bringing in subject matter experts from all across the elk hunting industry. Some of the guys have their own websites that they charge subscriptions to. Some of them have a huge following on social media. Some are going to be guys you've never even heard of before. But we want to get those guys together in one platform and to share that kind of information with you guys. So anyway, I don't think anybody's going to have too hard of feelings over this. And I think, it goes back to the rising tides raises all ships. So anyway, great question. Thanks a lot for calling in. All right, got time for one more question here.
Okay, I have a very kind of good question. When you are getting into elk and say it's getting close to dark time, and how far back should you get out of them to set up your bivy camp? And how bad does that affect the elk moving if you're bivy camping in the area? So, pretty good question, I think.
Yeah, that's a really great question, actually. So you don't want to set up right where you're getting into your elk, right? So let's say it's getting dusk and the day is winding down and you've had some elk encounters just recently. So a lot of hot bugling action right before dark. You're going to want to move your camp. You're going to back off, a quarter mile, half a mile, whatever makes sense. You may even want to go up over a ridge into another basin away from where the elk are at, just to keep your scent from blowing out all over through the basin or through the drainage. But you don't have to go 5 or 6 miles, but within a half mile, maybe even a mile if it makes sense, just to make sure that you don't want to mess it up. But usually we're camping within, I don't know, quarter mile to a half a mile from the elk, but we try to make sure we get out of their scent line. You have all those thermals that are be coming down at night, and wherever those elk are going to be hanging out, you don't want your thermals, your scent from those thermals getting taken to there. So that's a great question. All right, thanks a lot for calling in, guys. Really appreciate it. We have a whole bunch more to cover in the next coming weeks. I've got a couple interviews coming down the pipe, too. You may recognize some of these guys. A guy named by Jason Phelps, a guy named by Trent Fisher, cameraman Dusty Roop. So I'll interview some people, too, and maybe they'll interview me a little bit. And we'll just keep this thing going. In case you missed the phone number on the introductory episode, just call this number. It's 208-963-5389. Call that number, leave a detailed message. You got 3 minutes. If your message is longer than 3 minutes, it's going to cut you off. So get to the point, tell your story, ask your question, and we'll play it on air and answer it. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching. guys. And if you found any value or entertainment from this podcast, please, if you're on Spotify or Apple iTunes, please give me a rating, 5-star, if you will, or however you, if it was good, if it was bad, let me know. Give me some feedback, a little comment there too. And for the YouTube guys, please like and subscribe. Tell a friend. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Have a great one.
Get your bugler swag at thebuglerbrand.com.